Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going off on a new little adventure. I'm going to have a look at some basic stitches, and today I'm going to look at blanket stitch. Now, as you can see, this is an example of what I've been doing with blanket stitch, and I just wanted to show you that. Now, I'm also going to be trying to use, or I did use these new threads. That's a linen. This is a hemp yarn, and the linen is this one. It's quite a thick, sturdy thread. The hemp was this whitish one, again, quite a sturdy thread. And this little one is another linen thread. And I will go through and I will place all of those down there. This is just DMC embroidery thread. And this is just my little wax block that I use when I'm doing some embroidery or doing my slow stitching. Now I'm going to use this color in the DMC, and I've drawn some lines here. Now if you're new to embroidery or new to blanket stitch, this is good as a guide to keep your stitches the same length. Now I'm going to do these very, very large so that you can see the process in the video. So you start underneath and then you draw the needle up, you go to the bottom line, and then you just hold it. Now I'm going to be holding this a little bit strangely because I am trying to video and keep my fingers out of it, so it's a little bit difficult sometimes, but I'm doing my best. Now if you're more comfortable, you could use a embroidery hoop. I tend not to use embroidery hoops. I find them a little bit difficult to use, especially if I'm trying to video. So just bear with me. So again, you draw the needle up, you go through the bottom line up to the top line, and you make sure that your thread is always on the left side of that needle, as you can see there. Now this is a lovely stitch. I like blanket stitch because you can do a lot with it. And I did want to try, as I showed you in the little example, I tried to use some different threads, and I found the linen threads are quite stiff because of the weave, and they're meant for using, really not embroidery, but I think they will be great when I'm doing my boro, or even if I'm doing some sashiko, they might work out quite well. Now as you can see, this forms a nice little pattern here, and of course you can do this any length you want, so you can do it as tall here as you like, and you can also do the stitches as close together as you like to get a different kind of view. Now just to give you an idea, that was a 1 centimeter blanket stitch. That's very, very large, but I just wanted to do it in a larger size so that you could actually see what was happening. And I'm just going to tie it off here and then move on and do another example for you. So we'll just snip that off so it's out of the way. Now this embroidery thread that I'm using, as I said today, is just a DMC thread, and if I can find the colour, I will actually tell you the colour of that thread. That thread is actually 969. So the colour of that thread is 969. Now here I'm doing a smaller stitch. Again, bring the thread from the back to start up, and then make sure you always have the thread on, the needle is always on the left hand side of the thread. So up through there, and it just naturally forms, which is really good. You can see it's a very simple stitch to do, and as you practice, you can actually get quite neat at doing this. Now in a minute I'm going to show you I'm just trying to stitch a little bit closer here so that you see the difference. So you can see there that if you stitch close, I haven't got enough thread on here, so it's pulling a little bit, and the stitches are going to go a little bit wonky. I apologize for that. You can see that's become a very wonky little stitch at the end there. But you get the idea. They're a lot closer. You get a different kind of concept and a different kind of result. So I'll just leave that there and move on. They are really wonky. Sorry about that. Now, they're quite different, these two. If you were doing a larger blanket, you might use the top one. I use a very small blanket stitch. If you watch my slow stitch project where I made a little needle case, I use that slow stitch around the edge. I really like a slow stitch. I really like blanket stitch in a slow stitch project, especially if you're joining things together. I think I need to go make myself a cup of tea. It's been a long day and I've had some major computer issues and my software just stopped working, but that's just life. Now I'm going to do it in a long short pattern here. So again, that's just one little way that you can use it. So this is a great stitch because you can really let your creativity go crazy. And here I'm doing it in these straight lines, but of course you don't need to do it in straight lines. In this video, I'll just be showing you how to use the basic back stitch and then this variation here. And then I'm going to do another video where I show you how I've used it in circular patterns. So it's a great stitch. And then, of course, there are many, many other variations that I can show you along the way. If you'd like to see them, drop me a note. I'll be making a playlist of all these different stitches as well. And they all relate back to my slow stitch projects or my Boro projects. I use some of these things in those projects as well. So if you go back to the slow stitch, you'll definitely see me using some blanket stitch in those projects. But I'm trying to use it more and more. And sometime I will be making projects that sort of do look at using it a little bit more. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate and talk at the same time. Seems not to be possible today. So that's just the basic of a blanket stitch. So let's use it in a different way. Now I've got another piece of calico here and I've just drawn a little wavy line on it. Now again, you come from the back, you go down the length you want to make it, and then make sure that your thread is always on the right side of that. Sorry, your needle is always on the right side of the thread. Now here, I'm not using any bottom guide, so that I'm just eyeing it here and just going around and making the stitches. I'm using the middle, that drawn line, as my middle guide to where my needle should be when I pull the thread through. As you can see, this is a very quick stitch, and if you had it on a hoop, it would probably sit much, much flatter. Now with the DMC thread, I find it easy to do. With the other threads, they are very, very lovely, and as I said, I will put the names there for them, but they're much thicker threads, and they have a different texture altogether. They're quite firm, and probably the width of 6 strands of DMC thread, but they don't have the softness of the DMC thread because they're designed for a completely different purpose. But I want to incorporate them into some of my projects, so I will be using them. There's something new that I tried out, a little bit of a treat for myself. As I said in other projects, I've been clearing out my stash of things that I don't use and don't really inspire me, and I've been donating them all, and I've been buying myself a few little new treasures. So you can see this line looks a little bit like a caterpillar there. So I'm going to start on the other side again, come through from the back, go in at the bottom at the length that you want to make this stitch, and then pull it. Now don't pull it too tight. I'm probably being a little bit tight here, and you see it's sort of kind of pulling the fabric a little bit, but I'm not adverse to that look. I kind of like that as well because it gives a little bit more texture. So I'm just directly going across from the stitch that I stitched on the other side, trying to keep it flat and neat. Now again, you could make these stitches as close together as you like and as long as you like. So there's lots of variations to this, and you will get very different a very different result by using just that little bit of difference in the pieces. I really like this kind of look. It's a bit like a skeleton leaf almost. It's like, yeah, it's kind of has that real leaf look about it, and you could really build on this look. So that's why I'm sort of classifying it as a new adventure, because I'm getting a little bit more interested in doing different stitches again. But I want to vary the embroidery stitches I know a little bit and use them differently to how I've used them in the past. So that's the little bit so far, and I've just got a tiny little bit at the end here that I want to finish off. But you could just leave it like that and it would still look really, really interesting. So let me know what you think about this new little series of stitches and this new little stitch adventure that I'll be putting up every now and then as I look at a new stitch. Now, what am I going to do with all these little samples? I'm going to use them in other projects, and I may tea dye them, and I'm thinking of making another little hand sewn book. So that's going to be the new series. I ran a poll the other day and people wanted to see a slow stitch landscape, so I'm working on that as well. So thank you for being here today. Please hit the like, subscribe and hype button if you've liked this video, and the notification bell so that you don't miss anything and you can join me for upcoming videos. So today we've got the example of the basic stitch and then how I've put that back to back and created this little skeleton look. So again, here is the basic ones that you can look at, and here is the little, what I'm calling like the little skeleton back to back stitch. Again, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll leave lots of info in text throughout the video if you didn't catch some of the threads or some other information. Bye for now, everybody, and I hope to see you next time. Leave me a comment in the comment section below.